The FV Gaul was a deep-sea factory fishing trawler based in Hull in the United Kingdom that sank sometime on the night of the 8th to the 9th of February 1974 during a storm in the Barents Sea. 36 crew perished, but rumours persist from that day to this that something more sinister than a simple maritime tragedy occurred. A mysterious tale of spying, submarines, gulags, and government cover-ups. The ship, which was only 18 months old at the time of the tragedy, embarked on its final voyage on the 22nd of January 1974, putting ashore 4 days later in Loddigan, Norway, to drop off the ship's first mate, George Petty, who had been taken ill. They then proceeded to the fishing grounds north of Norway. Around the 8th of February, sea conditions became brutal, with waves of up to 9 metres and winds at 7 to 10 in the Beaufort scale. At 10:30 that morning, as required by company policy, the crew reported a summary of their position, weather conditions, and catch data. It would be the last time they were ever heard from. Another report was due at 6:30, but of the 17 ships of the parent company, British United Trawlers, that were in the area at the time, only the Gaul failed to radio in. The company reported the loss of contact to their insurance company on the 10th of February, and in turn, the insurer contacted the trawlers they insured in the area to be on the lookout for the Gaul. Aircraft carrier HMS Hermes was in the vicinity. They commenced a huge search in concert with other ships nearby, but no trace of the Gaul was ever found, and the search was called off on the 15th. While some rumours had circulated following the tragedy, as in so many cases, suspicions grew following an official inquiry, whose conclusions failed to convince. A 1974 report posited that the most likely cause of the disaster was that the Gaul had been overwhelmed by a series of monster waves and had capsized, not something that would have been expected of such a state-of-the-art vessel. To buttress this case, there were reports of poor maintenance of doors and hatches on the Curd, a sister ship of the Gaul, although the report stressed that this may not have been relevant to the situation on the Gaul. Nevertheless, general dissatisfaction with the inquiry was magnified by a 1975 investigative TV programme, which claimed that the Gaul, among other British commercial ships, had been engaged in espionage against the Soviet Union and was sunk by the Soviets. Over the years, this theory was picked up and expanded upon, that the trawler had been captured and the men interned in gulags or killed, that the Gaul had collided with a British or American submarine engaged in espionage or been dragged under by one. Similarly, that the ship had snagged undersea cables and listening devices that had been placed in the area. Suspicion further grew after the wreck had seemingly been found later in 1975, when the Norwegian trawler Riro snagged its nets on a large underwater obstruction close to the Gaul's last known position. The British government, while admitting that they were confident this was the wreck, decided against any further investigation on grounds of cost, safety, and that little useful information would result from it. A 1997 television programme by the UK's Channel 4, with help from Norwegian experts, located the Gaul at the position where Riro snagged its nets more than 20 years earlier, 90 miles off the Norwegian coast and in almost 1,000 feet of water. The UK government then instructed the Marine Accident Investigation Branch to carry out extensive surveys of the wreck in 1998 and 2002, which also recovered human remains, DNA tests of which established that they came from 4 of the crew from the Gaul. This at least reassured the families that the vessel and crew had not been seized by the Soviets. The investigators felt that there was enough new information to warrant a further inquiry. the surveys having revealed that a number of hatches, doors, and chutes were open. The new inquiry determined that these oversights had allowed water to flood in from the heavy seas, causing a catastrophic loss of buoyancy. Established emergency manoeuvres by the crew only caused further flooding. The Gaul was not fishing at the time, appearing to put paid to the theory that they had tangled with a submarine. Many relatives were dissatisfied with the findings, though. A 1999 Guardian article claimed that the ship had come to rest on an undersea listening cable. Furthermore, that there was a 6-foot gash in the hull, just above the waterline. The article quoted a subsea engineering expert, Colin McFarlane, who opined that this level of damage could not have occurred from the Gaul coming to rest on the seabed. Critics also pointed out that no distress signal had been sent, despite the ship being equipped with the latest technology of that time. The Soviets and their successor Russian authorities consistently denied any involvement in the tragedy, pointing out that the only spying going on in the area would have been by Western nations. The Ministry of Defence denied any such possibility, although evidence emerged in later years that British submarines had shadowed commercial vessels, hiding underneath them to avoid sonar detection. Hull fishermen also told stories of having been involved in intelligence gathering that utilised the British trawler fleet, another thing that the MOD has consistently denied. There is more evidence to suggest that the Gaul was lost in the way that officialdom claimed, but their evidence and conclusions are not a slam dunk. The whole mysterious story is probably best summed up by a relative of one of the dead men, quoted in the Guardian article, Susan Paul, who said, "The most important question is, will we ever gain the truth and finally put this mystery to bed? I do not believe, in all honesty, that we will."